Good morning, students. Myself Subodh sir, and this is history class for standard 8. In this class, we are going to discuss with you the chapter 5, and it is when the people rebel. Rebel means going against the current political authority. And who was the current political authority at this time when we are talking about? It was the East India Company. While starting the discussions, we have discussed a few things like we have discussed. You might have been remembering 1757. Battle of Plassey. You might have been remembering that we had discussed the Battle of Plassey. It was fought between the East India Company and the Nawab of Bengal. And we know the result that in this battle, Nawab of Bengal was defeated. It means one of the threats that the East India Company had, it was also the Nawab of Bengal. The East India Company had also the threat of the Awadh. Then they had also the threat of Mughal Emperor, Maratha, Mysore. Because East India Company wanted to make the India their colony, and if India becomes their colony, only they can utilize its resources in their favor, because at the time the other European countries had been in India. Among them, we can say before it, East India Company, it was the Portuguese and the Dutch, and who just arrived after East India Company, it was the French. So it was necessary for the East India Company and even the other European power to eliminate the other three. Then only can they utilize the resources in their favors. Portuguese and Dutch could not expand their territory. They remain in a part. The Portuguese remain contained into the Goa region that we find it. Dutch did not survive long. They left the country, and it was the main French and the East India Company, and we know that French was also defeated and they had to leave the country. Then it was the political power in India, a strong rulership or kingdom which is to be defeated, which were against it. So one was defeated, it was in the Battle of Plassey, it was the Nawab of Bengal at that time. It was very strong, supposed to be the strongest one. And it has recently emerged as the independent nation from the Mughals Empire. Then we have talked about the date 1761. It was the third battle of Panipat. This battle was actually not fought directly by the East India Company, but it benefited it. You might have been remembering the third battle of Panipat was fought between the Maratha and the Afghan ruler Ahmed Shah Abdali. In this way, we don't find any involvement of the East India Company. But defeat of the Maratha paved the way for the East India Company, because the another power which was the becoming the threat for the establishment of the British rule in India, it was the Maratha which was defeated. It also paved the way, removed another spokes from the East India Company. Then we have talked about 1764. Battle of Buxar. The Battle of Buxar, which was fought in 1764, it was fought between the combined army of Nawab Bengal, Nawab of Awadh, and the Mughal Emperor versus the East India Company. This is the most important battle that was fought. It was Nawab of Bengal plus Awadh or Awadh of Mughal Empire. One side versus East India Company. These three strong power was defeated by the East India Company, and it paved the way for the establishment of East India Company rule. You might have been gone through it that in 1765 Treaty of Allahabad, it was signed. And according to the Treaty of Allahabad, the East India Company got the Diwani right of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa provinces. We have already discussed the period from 1765 to 1772. Dual government. And 1773, the first Governor General was appointed. It means after that the rule of the East India Company started. We have got the basic idea, basic structures regarding it. Now, what happened? Simply Britishers were utilizing the resources of India for their own benefit. We have heard many times that India was known as the Golden Bird. Now it is not known as the Golden Bird. Golden Birds, it means it was one of the richest country in the form of, in the shape of resource that it had. And which resource? The gold, silver and other precious metals. Its trade was flourishing in the European market. The trade was of the spices, muslin and cotton. And if the trade was continuing, it was difficult for the East India Company to earn profit. Because in the European market, the demand of the Indian fine cotton, muslin were very big one. Industrial revolution had taken place. And if the industrial revolution had taken place, then the goods were produced in the large scale. So, these companies required the market as well as the raw materials. market to sell it, and the raw materials to meet the industrial demand. And it could be possible only they acquired more and more territory of India, which ultimately made the Indians against the East India Company rule. I am not talking about the British rule, because British rule started after the revolt of 1857. Till 1757 onward, and 1857 the revolt had taken place. It was the rule of East India Company. It was not the rule of British Crown or British government. British सरकार का कोई रोल नहीं था. It was being ruled by the company. And for what the company were ruling? Company were ruling only to earn maximum profit, utilizing the resources of India in such a way that they can reap the rich dividend or rich profit. This was the conditions, and whatever the policy they implemented, all the policy had made the Indians annoyed. By the warfare, they did not capture the Indian territory. A little bit was there that captured it, and the policy in the war that we have discussed it. If we talk about the policy and the war, then we can understand it. We know that the war is the phenomena, and yes, it gives, and if a loser kingdom is there, they know that I have defeated. But if anything has been taken from them by using the policy, and even the peoples are not willing to accept it, then what will happen? The people will rebel. There was not any reasons. There are many reasons that we would discuss one by one. That's why the name of chapter is When the People Rebel. It is clear that the people rebelled in 1857, and you will get it is the revolt of 1857. What were the causes that it gave it? We know that if the tension between the two peoples rises, the tension continues, tension depends, but there must be some reason to start the conflict between these two peoples. कोई ना कोई कारण होना चाहिए, कोई ना कोई कारण होगा. टेंशन है दो पीपल के बीच में, एक मोहल्ले में या एक सिटी में. But tension do not create till an immediate cause. That we said, immediate cause, तत्कालिक कारण कुछ ना कुछ हो जाए. Any things may happen. It means we can compile it the other reason as the fuel, and the immediate reason as the fire. And fuel, dry fuel, waiting for a spark of the fire. It catches fire. That is happening it. So first we will discuss about the fuel, then fire. And what is the sparks or the fire means? It was the immediate cause. We have already discussed in chapter 2 that Lord Cornwallis had implemented the permanent settlement. And permanent settlement in the view to earn the maximum land revenue, and we know that he was happy at the times because he was extracting the most highest possible revenue at that times, and it was fixed. The peoples who were assigned the right to collect the revenue, they came to be known as the new Jamindars. It means 70 1793 permanent settlement. It was in the Bengal. Presidency. The two words, one came to be known as the New and Old. Old Jamindar were the traditional Jamindars. Old Jamindars, these were the traditional Jamindar, but after the introduction of permanent settlement in 1793, Lord Cornwallis gave the right to collect the land revenue. The peoples who had been given be called the new Jamindars. They were not necessarily that they were from the old Jamindars. So the new Jamindars had favored the East India Company because the Jamindari system was made hereditary. It was given permanently. Old Jamindars, who were the traditional Jamindars, were given the right deprived of, so they become the against the East India Company. First sign that we find, it was from the 1793 itself. It was the Cornwallis who had introduced the permanent settlement. It means if we say we can keep these things under the political cause. This we will discuss under the heading of political cause. First we have got 1793 introduction. Then there was another one. We have also read about the subsidiary alliance system. Lord Wellesley. Lord Wellesley has introduced subsidiary alliance system. The state, some state willingly, voluntarily joined the subsidiary alliance system, but some state were forced to sign the subsidiary alliance system. Awadh, we can take the example of Awadh. Was forced to sign the subsidiary alliance system in 1801 itself, and finally it was annexed in 1856. It was annexed on the ground of misgovernment. What happens in the subsidiary alliance system? Under the subsidiary alliance system, if a state or kingdom accepting the subsidiary alliance system, they had to simply disband their own army. It means disband armies. It means the family loses their regular income and they don't have any alternate source. So these peoples who have been disbanded or removed from the services of the king, now they don't have any source of income, become a rival, arch rival of the East India Company. वो लोग विरोध में थे, against में थे, किसके? ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी का। क्यों थे? Because simply their income was taken away. So Awadh peoples, They were against the East India Company that we have got. We are starting from 1793. Old Zamindar and new Zamindars, you have got it. And it is the policy that was introduced by the East India Company. It was the subsidy alliance system. It was Wellesley had introduced. Many states had accepted it, no problem. Some states voluntarily accepted it. Some states were forced to accept it. What were the consequences? It was not realized in the beginning. Later on, it was realized by the king and people itself that it is the harsh treaty that should not be done it. Why so? Simply because the army, their own army was disbanded, and the army which were disbanded now has lost their income, and since the army was from the East India Company and rulers had not to enter into any negotiations with the other estate, it means indirectly the estate came into the hand of the East India Company. And if the estate comes under the hand of the East India Company, they could utilize their resources in their favors, not to see the benefit of that estate or Indians, but to see their benefit. So the peoples of this estate has been simply against or arch rival of the East India Company. Then another policy that we find. Lord Dalhousie might have been remembering you the name. Lord Dalhousie introduced doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie had introduced a policy that is called doctrine of lapse. Simply says that if a rulers do not have the natural heir, it means अगर किसी राजा के पास अपनी संतान नहीं है, in that case the adopted son was not allowed to inherit the throne. It was the tradition in Hindu culture, Hindu society. And what were the traditions? They could adopt a son. Hindu mythology says, Hindu religion says that without a son one cannot go heaven. The son was required. But Britishers made a policy very cleverly that anyhow we have to take this estate. It came in the mind of the Lord Dalhousie, who introduced the policy of doctrine of lapse. It means if a ruler do not has his own son, then the adopted son would not be accepted as the ruler after his or her death, and that estate would be transferred in the hand of the East India Company. Do you remember the name of the state? Yes, you are right one. Satara. Sambalpur. Udaipur. Nagpur. Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi. These were the main estates which were annexed on the ground of doctrine of lapse. Among these, the most important that we do remember, it is the Jhansi. The Queen Jhansi do not had her own son, and her adopted son was not accepted as the rulers. The people of these estates, which were annexed on the ground of not having a son, were become angry. Why? The East India Company interfered in the internal matter of it. Even though they had the negotiations, but they did not accept, simply because the East India Company was getting more and more powerful. They had the advanced trained armies, they had the weapons, as well as the some rulers were supporting it. Now you may ask, who were supporting it? Just we have discussed in the beginning. The new Jamindars had got the support. We will discuss later on, but we are continuing it. It means these estates were declined. Then we have heard the name of Nana Sahib. You might have. Another one, it was the Dalhousie's policies. Nana Sahib, he was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II, but he was not given the pension after the death of Bajirao II. He had to leave the Pune and settle in Bittur, thus near the Kanpur. So, all the peoples of the Maratha, means this Peshwa's confederacy, become against the East India Company. This was not the least one. There are many more to come. It was announced by the East India Company that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar II, he is considered as the last Mughal emperor. It was announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar II, no one will be called as the emperor. They will simply call as the princess. How the sentiment of the Muslim were disturbed, that they are going to say. What was the announcement? It was the announcement that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar II, no one will be called as a emperor, they will simply called as the princess. It means, according to East India Company, the Bahadur Shah Jafar is the last Mughal emperor. It disturbed the sentiment. Furthermore, what disturbed the sentiment of the Muslims? It was also announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah Jafar II, the Mughals had to vacate the Red Fort. They cannot continue in the Red Fort. As see, we are discussing if the Red Fort was constructed and being prepared by the Shah Jahan, who shifted his capital from Agra to Delhi. They had to simply leave this place and settle somewhere near. In the Delhi itself, and it was a place that was given, it was near the Qutub Minar in Mehrauli, which is now the part of Delhi itself. A small type of fortress is been given. If you have visited the Qutub Minar, you will see that a small part has been given for the residence. It was allotted for the Mughals. This thing, the person, the dynasty who had been ruling the vast country of India, if they have been forced to live in the so small space, cannot it disturb the sentiment of the Muslim? Yes, it will. So it also disturb the sentiment of the Muslims. So in this one we have discussed regarding the political causes of the revolt of 1857. There are many causes of the revolt of 1857. In the next video we will discuss about the social and religious causes are there. Then we have the economic cause, then we have the military cause, then we have the immediate cause. So first we will discuss the causes, and then the revolt spread and its result, what changes had taken place. So first I do hope that you have understood it. Go through this policy, go through this video and try to understand what made the people to rebel against the East India Company. Thank you. Go through it.